Hello and welcome to our version of Ask Me Anything with Brian Puerling and Red Leaf Press. My name is Meredith Burks and I'm the Product Marketing and Customer Experience Manager with Red Leaf. And we would just love to start and welcome you all. Brian Puerling is the Director of Education Technology at Catherine Cook School in Chicago and author of Teaching in the Digital Age and Teaching in the Digital Age for Preschool and Kindergarten. He is a graduate of the Erikson Institute and a National Board Certified Teacher. And Brian, you are really a multi-hyphen early childhood professional. You've been on the Nickelodeon Curriculum and Content Advisory Board. You're an award-winning teacher, an early career fellow at the Fred Rogers Institute, a teacher coach, curriculum reviewer, and a consultant for a laundry list of super impressive clients like the Early Childhood Council of New Zealand and NBCUniversal. So welcome, thank you. We're so grateful for you to be with us and answer our questions about technology and early childhood development in our new reality.
Absolutely, it's great to be here.
To start, as the Director of Education Technology, a position I'm thinking not a lot of early childhood businesses have access to, what is the main message that you're trying to get out to help support your teachers and teachers supporting families?
I think it's all about recognizing opportunities and helping teachers really consider their curriculum and their goals and objectives first when looking at what educational technology tools can do to support those. It can be easy for teachers to see some sort of new shiny technology and want to just try and find a way to use it. Where I get that, and you can do that and you can play with that on your own, but we really want to make sure that your curriculum, your goals and objectives are the driver for when you make those decisions. And in my role, it's a lot of collaborating with teachers to think about what their curriculum, what their units, what their investigations look like, and what resources might be out there that they don't know of that could help really enhance. And the key word is enhance those experiences and kind of the scope and sequence of their units.
And we have received a few questions ahead of this webinar, so we're just going to go ahead and start with these, and then other people are going to type in to the chat their questions and we'll answer them live. So this is from Nancy. She says, my biggest question is that we typically discourage screen time. We follow the Reggio Emilia approach for our students ages 2 to 5. Online learning is more typical for children K through 12th grade. I understand that we are in uncharted territory, but I don't want to encourage videos or screen story time instead of parental story time, etc. How do you use technology without using technology? And she gives us a little smiley face.
Yes. That's a good question. Yes. I think a good starting place would be to begin just using music and audiobooks. We know that early literacy experiences are very important, and if we can listen to other actual authors or other readers reading children's books and then compare those to what their parents or their caregivers might sound like reading the books, there's a lot of conversation that can happen around that in terms of the inflection that's used or conversations around the characters. And then even extending conversations about, if the child was the author, what could they do? How might they change the ending? How might they extend the story? In terms of music, I think giving children a lot of opportunity to listen to a variety of genres. When I was teaching preschool, I was putting on all sorts of music all the time to give them as much exposure as possible. I got one of these sketch pads here. Not sure if you can see, but it says drawn to music. And in the sketch pad, at the bottom of each page, it says drawn while listening to. And so I think it's a really great experience to invite the music through that vehicle of technology, but then bring in the arts and bring in the creativity to see what is inspired within that child to be drawn while listening to different types of music.
I love that idea. And then this next question comes from Jenny. She says, I want to post videos of myself reading and singing, but I've heard that there are copyright issues concerning that. Is that true? I've also heard and read and agree that online learning is not appropriate for preschool. However, families are asking for more suggestions for digital learning. What do you suggest I do? So I'm going to start with that first one as a publisher. Yes, normally there are copyright protections in place, and books and music are copyrighted materials. So generally you are not allowed to record a virtual story time and have that be public. The idea is to protect the content creator and publisher. However, we are in unusual circumstances. So a lot of publishers have granted temporary guidelines. So Red Leaf is one of those. We have just posted that on our customer service page. We ask that you fill out a form, and that if you're doing a virtual story time, that they're in a private room or a private group. We are not allowing people to just put it on public on YouTube. But the best case is probably to just look at the publisher's website, check with them directly. They've probably made a statement. And we have an email today from the Copyright Clearance Center asking for kind of just a wide, whoever their publisher partners are, asking for wide permission. So we'll send that around. That will probably be in place until August. So it is unusual circumstances, but we are trying to be flexible and yet protect our authors. And then, so Brian, do you want to go ahead and take that second part about families and suggesting? And I think the root of this question is really a belief system. If you don't believe in digital learning, but we're in this situation, and even working with families who maybe have different belief systems about technology and what's best for their children.
And I think there's no reason to depart from those beliefs. I think right now, as we all know, this is, it's a hard time, it's trying times. And I think right now what we can do is, if we can recognize that the technology is going to be the kind of the vehicle for communication with the children and their teachers and the adults and the other children in their groups that they're most familiar with seeing every day. And we want to make sure that we're facilitating and nurturing those relationships in whatever way we can. So I think if we can recognize that, and that teachers are trying to share with you as parents what you can do as a parent, as a teacher, to continue the learning at home. And that being said, that's the technology piece, but teachers are also knowing and being cognizant and aware that they want children singing, they want them creating, they want them going outside, they want them playing, they want them building forts out of blankets and pillow cushions and things like that. It really is just a balance. And this is not a permanent time for us. So it's life, and we're working through it, and we will come out again where we're back together, where we know we need to be.
Families are asking for digital learning, even if maybe you as an educator aren't, I think that's where Jenny was coming from, that she doesn't like the online learning for preschool.
Yeah.
And I would like to expand on that, especially with different families having maybe different beliefs about technology or different access to technology too. So I'm gonna let you take that one.
I think in this situation, and given the circumstances that we're in right now, I think what we need to remember is that the technology right now is kind of our vehicle for communication with our child's teacher and the kid and the individuals and the adults that they are accustomed to interacting with every single day. And so if we can remember that, and remember that the technology is going to be that kind of communication that they're going to have in terms of what sorts of recommendations the teachers might have for parents to be their child's teacher at home, is also important to remember. My daughter, like I said earlier, she's in first grade, and we want the kids to get together too. So they had a lunch over Zoom all together. So we're trying to get their kids together also, and not just between the teacher and the student. And I think that teachers in this kind of situation are also very cognizant of the screen time amount of time, and in the ways that we're approaching that, but trying to get the kids or our students to value going outside, to singing songs, to reading books, to being creative, to engaging in arts, to building and designing with Legos, and really valuing that and building that into whatever curriculum plans that they have in these times.
Mm-hmm. Great. And I have a question from Andrea here. In the sudden shift to online learning, even for our preschools, did I understand in the comments that if I am only reading a book on video that is linked to only my Google Photos, is that okay? So I think the big thing is each publisher is different. For Red Leaf and a lot of other publishers where we are asking that you keep it private, you cannot make money by doing a read aloud story time. So on YouTube, once you hit a certain number of views, you will start showing ads and collecting. And I know that seems like I'm not going to get enough video, I'm not going to get enough views to monetize this, but that's just, it's to protect our content creators and our authors and their work. So, and then our Nancy Goldberg says, our school is saying daily 30-minute Zoom plus daily video for each preschool class. Is this too much?
Okay. I can tell you everyone is trying to figure out what's too much and what's too little. It is something that this is uncharted territory for a lot of us. And there are parents who are going to say that one amount is too much and one amount is too little based on what the demands are for their work, from working from home. So I think that the most important thing we can do is to be communicating with our families and our parents and continuing to get feedback from them about what seems to be feasible, what seems to be really successful, and also looking at what the children seem to be most independent with and kind of building around that.
We have one from Andrea here. How are students responding to what teachers are delivering to them via technology during COVID-19? What are children and families sharing? What tools are they using to communicate back to their programs? And what type of collaborative projects are teachers putting together using students' work to celebrate and document their work during COVID-19?
I think it really depends on what resources schools and programs and districts have access to. I think it goes anywhere from texting to emailing to Facebook feeds, Instagram pages to where, there's Seesaw, there's Google Classroom, there's Zoom, there's a whole bunch of pieces. And right now I think we're all trying to figure out which ones seem to fit together best for our program and for what resources we have in place. The more pieces that are a part of that kind of complete puzzle for the program for this kind of online remote learning approach is going to require more support also from teachers, because there are going to be lots of questions. There are like Seesaw, for example, we're using for preschool through second grade. It's not necessarily built for this purpose, but we are making it work. We're all in a make it work moment right now, I think. And so we need to be okay with things not necessarily going as we hoped. Teachers are feeling like newbies in a lot of ways right now, and we just kind of need to be okay with that and give them permission to be okay with that.
Yeah, and I mean, especially for a lot of parents who are working from home and trying to teach, and especially with the young children that need a little bit, they need to be guided and monitored a little. That's
absolutely
all new.
I'm doing it. Yep.
You're doing it right now. Yeah. So here's one from Kathy. What suggestions do you have for toddlers under 2 years old to keep them connected with their classmates and us, their teachers? I think you did. I like how you touched on the idea of Zoom meetings, kind of Zoom lunches. So do you have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, is it a Zoom lunch? Is it a play date? It was interesting observing it, because there was some, they started doing this dance party. So one of the kids was playing music in the background where they were all dancing around, but it's a little bit different being dancing far back, but then you have to come and actually see what your friends and peers are doing. So giving them those moments, I think, is important. Just, texting or emailing photos and quick videos is also, a quick way to keep connecting. Lydia, my daughter, we've been putting letters in the mail. She's been receiving letters in the mail. That's also important. You can put actual photos in there. Actually handwritten letters, and illustrations are really powerful also.
I love that. Actually, yes, I have some older children in my life that are starting to get new pen pals. And I love that sort of return to the pen pal.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and the idea of sharing illustrations. Perfect. For parents needing more structure in their homes, how would you suggest using technology to assist with this?
So each morning, at least in our situation, we get a little, it's kind of called like a grid of some kind. It kind of gives a little bit of an overview of what the child is supposed to do for that day. So I usually will find an app where I can bring that image into it and we can kind of use it as a checklist so that the child can have some sort of independence and putting an X over, okay, I took care of this already. Now I'm going to focus on this area. So in any sort of kind of checklist or management that the child can kind of work within, so that you're not always there telling them what to be doing next. Have you done this already? I think would be helpful.
Mm-hmm. I have one here from an early childhood trainer, wondering how to share a PowerPoint without having audience see the notes.
Let's see. I mean, that's all going to be determined on how you export it, I believe. I don't know if I can walk you through that right now exactly in this webinar, but YouTube is a great search engine for tutorials on how to make sure you're doing those things right. So I think that would be a starting place. And if you can't, whoever that was, I can work with one-on-one to get that happening for them.
Great. Okay. Well, yeah. So Rena will connect with you and we'll gather some links and resources to share after this.
Yeah.
Yes. Nancy, thank you, Nancy. Nancy is asking, isn't there a function key to not share notes? I think she's probably right. Reagan is saying export as a PDF maybe. So I think
that is an easy way to share as long as you don't have videos.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the videos, I will be honest, are always a little daunting for me as a as a user. You know, you have to have them in the same file. So
yeah.
That is great. Thank you guys for chiming in with those suggestions as well. See, Jackie has a comment. I'm trying to relate to my parents that they are their child's first and best teacher, and that I am confident that they did. That I'm confident that they will make the best decision for their child. I'm also encouraging outdoor play and exploration time.
Yes.
Great.
Absolutely.
Great job, Jackie. Yes, I think remembering that outdoor time is still a good option, especially as we get more into spring. I know here in Minnesota, it has been cold and rainy still. It is sunny today. That's why I look like I'm glowing right now. But getting outdoors is going to be a key part of this.
Yeah.
So.
One of the classes that I do teach at Catholic Cook is called Tinker Time. And so I've been putting videos out to parents within the classrooms on Seesaw and inviting different Tinker design experiences. And there, with whether it was preschool, JK, or SK, there were 3 books that I had read to them, and I've got them for you. I'll show them to you here. And they all are about being unplugged while also being plugged in. This is Unplugged as one of them. We'll email you these, of course. Mm-hmm. And Dog Unplugged. But the whole idea is to appreciate what is around us right now and to go outside and see and observe things that you might not normally have in this situation. So one of the activities that I advocated for was building your own binoculars and using your imagination to build binoculars that might do something that normal binoculars might not. Like if there was a button on them that would take a picture or a video of what you're seeing, or shine a bright light so you could see things, or to zoom in, and then to go take those binoculars out and observe your neighborhood or your environment in some way that you might not have before.
Mm-hmm. I've got something from Susan here. She's saying, is there a maximum number of preschool children that attend a Zoom session effectively?
That is a good question. And I think that kind of goes back to what the teacher knows about their students and what group management looks like. Managing a group of children while in Zoom when you can't actually be with them is tricky, and it can be difficult. And I think it will depend on the parent role in that situation also. Mm-hmm. So if I were to put a number out there for preschool, or if we're talking about age 3-ish, I wouldn't say more than 4 or 5. It all kind of depends on what that live experience is intended for, or what the purpose is too.
Yeah, maybe you could do 6 or 7 for a dance party, but
yes, right, yeah.
So,
Or a read aloud, something that's
or read
more
aloud.
focused.
Yep,
Yes.
yep, exactly. That makes sense. We do have another question here about how many videos and lessons should we have in a day. Their classroom kids are 3 years old.
Yeah. I think a rule of thumb to go by right now is that whatever activities you put out there, they're going to take 2 to 3 times as long as they would normally if they were in front of you. So think about that in the management of time. And I think in this situation, it's better to just kind of start smaller, get feedback, and then grow from there, and kind of massage and meander within what activities you do, what the kids are responding to most, what they seem to be most interested in. I think it's going to be a good start. But I do understand that it is a tricky endeavor to try and put a kind of curriculum outline together when you're not right there with them every day.
Yeah. This is a comment from Joanne, which is a great suggestion. I work in a toddler room and we already do audiobooks. That would be the next steps. Celebrities or authors reading their own. Oh, sorry, I lost it. It's there. Celebrities or authors reading their own stories for different inflections. Yeah. Yeah. And you're going to find a lot of authors and people doing virtual story times now, for sure. This is another question. I am teaching an early STEAM class and many students express concern about the amount of technology in preschool classrooms. Can you speak to the definition of technology and the variety of technology experiences?
I think the first thing to start with is that technology isn't always a screen, and that there are other things, even though it plugs in, it might offer a different experience. Before I had mentioned digital microscopes, being able to look at things up closer, just building and designing with materials that you have around the house. There are technology concepts in there, design concepts in that, even though that whatever you're working with doesn't plug in and doesn't have a screen. Technology is a way to cultivate creativity, and we want to continue that. And so I think it's looking outside of just the screen situation, and that when you can bring creativity into it, also that's really important.
Yeah, I really loved that suggestion about the drawing and listening to different genres of music. I kind of want to do that for myself. I think that sounds like a really interesting project. And yeah, audiobooks and then getting out the Legos and rebuilding. So great. Let's see. We had a group of 18 preschoolers, the class size, go on a Zoom lunch. And they enjoyed seeing all of their classmates, the teacher and the children had turn saying hi to their friends. This works really well. So great. So Patricia's already doing this. People are doing that. Yeah. I love this idea. And then we have a question here. Do you have any resources I could use with the toddlers for the stories? I would, if you're reading them yourself, try creating a YouTube channel. Just make sure it's unlisted, because again, that is kind of and there are instructions that we can include in a follow-up email on how to do that. Do you have any other suggestions for that?
No, I think that's a great idea. Anytime that they can see your face, when you're reading the stories, I think that's great. I think Meredith, you had a great start with that recommendation. Yeah.
Thank you. And we are on Zoom right now, so you all have Zoom accounts. So it's also, this webinar is not sponsored by Zoom, but you hear a lot about that these days.
I see someone said flannel board stories. Absolutely. Yep. Puppets, bringing those back.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if there are any questions that we have missed. We have a few more minutes here. Doyo app will provide different learning materials. I'm not familiar with that. Are you familiar? No? Okay.
Great. As a Gloria who posted that, could you put a link to that app in the chat so we all can take a look at that?
Yeah. Okay, we've got one from Heather here. I work as a QRS assessor in Arizona. Our tool standards state that the children should have no more than 30 minutes of exposure per week. However, when observing classrooms with high SPED population, teachers are typically reporting that using videos and technology help with engaging and learning concepts. What is your opinion on screen time with children with disabilities as opposed to typically developing children? That question's from Heather.
I mean, I think Heather, you make the point right there. If teachers and parents are observing that it is an engaging tool to use to get children with disabilities engaging with different concepts and skills, I think go with what you know, and go with that, but continually observing and being aware of the minutes though, and making sure that there still is some hands-on work or some non-screen time, and figuring out whatever they're doing on the screen, how that could lend itself relevantly to a hands-off screen type of experience or activity.
Mm-hmm. And Kelly asked, can we get a copy of the chat? Not everyone is posting to all panelists and attendees. Yes, we will make sure this will all be posted. And if you are chatting, yeah, please take a look at your drop down and make sure that it's going to all panelists and attendees.
I see Faye asked about making ebooks, and there is a great app called Book Creator, and it's not just an app, it's also, I think there's a Chrome extension for it also, where you can create ebooks. And within the ebook, there can be drawings, there can be audio buttons, there can be videos, you can bring in photographs. Book Creator has been really responsive to educators and making sure that it is a helpful resource for both students and teachers. So I would check that out. It's super user-friendly.
Thank you. Okay, and we are just about at our 30 minutes, so I want to be conscious of everyone's time. We're going to send out an email with links to this recording, as well as a ton of resource links for you. And feel free to follow up with any additional questions that we maybe did not get to. And I have a couple of things here that I wanted to share with you guys as well. Technology, am I right? All right. So you guys have been amazing and very patient with us, so thank you so much. We are doing a 20% discount using the code BPAMA20. Customer service, we are all working remotely, but our phone lines are still open. You just need to leave a voicemail. Even better yet, shoot us an email and we can give you a call back if you have questions or want to place an order. We also have a new resource I want to promote quickly as the early childhood activities from Red Leaf Press. These are weekly activities that will be sent right to your mobile phone. It will include a link, so it doesn't need to be a smartphone. It is completely free to sign up. And Mondays will be infant toddler activities, Wednesdays are preschool, Fridays school age, so 5 to 8 years old. Feel free to share this with your families. It is activities that are taken from Red Leaf Press resources and just sort of given out in bite-sized pieces. So if you want to just sign up for Mondays, if you only work with infant toddlers, that's fine. But you can just visit our website, redleafpress.org/texts. And again, we will share that in our follow-up email. So thank you everyone for being here. This has been it was a whirlwind, but Brian, I think you answered a lot of questions. Hopefully people learned a lot. So thank you guys, and we will be sending out more resources soon. Thank you, Brian.
Absolutely. Glad to be here with everyone today.